I grew up in this engineered processed food environment, and chances are you did too, unless you're over 80. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to know that engineered processed foods that you and your children have enjoyed all these years have destroyed our metabolism and hijacked your taste buds.
To understand how to best replace sugar, you first have to understand what kind of sugar lover are you. Number one are those who love to drink it. They're called the drinkers. Number two are people who love textures and enjoy chewing sugary sweet foods. Those people love candy bars, caramels, gummies. These are called the chewers. The third are people who love breaded sugar. They like to eat sugary, soft foods or cookies, pastries, breads, and ice cream. These are called the softies. And the fourth are people who like sugar found in natural whole foods. These people can enjoy a succulent, fragrant strawberry or a crunchy apple plain and be done with sugar. I call these people the naturalist.
If you are a naturalist, then you're probably not overweight and you don't have sugar problems. And you can occasionally enjoy processed sugary treats guilt-free and never binge. Congratulations, you have won the genetic lotto. But if you are a drinker, chewer, or a softie, then you probably want to enjoy having those treats without the medical complications that come along with sugar addictions, such as cavities, fatigue, fatty liver, weight gain, recurrent yeast infections, high cholesterol, prediabetes, and diabetes. Now, obviously, natural foods appreciated by naturalists taste nothing like the engineered foods the drinkers, chewers, and softies love. I love those too. But there are ways to make healthier sweet foods to satisfy your sugar cravings, no matter what group are in, so that you can help to curb your sweet tooth, reduce fatty liver, improve insulin resistance, lower blood sugars, and lose weight. However, please understand that these replacements will never taste like the professionally engineered ultra-processed foods made by the large companies that you have grown up to love. And that's why those products are so popular, because they are formulated to hit that sugar bliss with the right ratio of sugar, salt, and fat. But it doesn't mean that you can't satisfy your sugar cravings and train your brain to desire less and less sugar and more natural foods. Number one is perfect for drinkers, chewers, and softies, and that is a Concord Grape. Now, if you're a drinker, try crushing these grapes in a glass of water, skin and all. Sparkling water is my favorite to use because the fizz makes up and can replace some of that sugar. Now, if you're a chewer, try freezing these grapes, and it'll be a delicious cold treat. And if you're a softie, well, a Concord Grape is best refrigerated. Concord grapes are unique because they have a jelly-like texture inside, packed within a phytonutrient-rich shell or skin. Now, these grape skins contain polyphenols that are known to slow down carbohydrate digestion. This means lower blood sugars, lower insulin, which is protective against fatty liver and weight gain. Now, when you chew on this whole grape, your body can't access all the sweetness at once, and this is actually protective for your metabolism to keep your blood sugars low. Whereas a piece of grape candy is made of powdered ingredients that was once dissolved in water and then dried up into a hard candy. So once that candy hits water and heat again, it rapidly starts melting away. Now, if you drop this grape into water and you mush it up, some of the sugar will dissolve slowly over time into your water. So if you cut this grape into slices and then drop it in water, it'll sweeten your water, but not so much that you're drinking pure sugar. But if you really wanted to sweeten your water, you can crush it even more with a fork. Put more grapes in it. Try it with some soda water. Put it in the sparkling water for a couple of hours. Not only will that water be sweetened, but the grape will be a little fizzy when you eat it. Now remember, don't throw this skin away. This purple skin tells you it's packed with phytonutrients. In fact, the skin and the seeds contain the most amount of phytonutrients in a grape. It also contains fiber, which is food for your gut microbiome, the most powerful metabolic organ outside of your own cells that most people underappreciate. The trillions of microbes that are in your gut, they all have genes, that program them to make metabolites to interact with your body. And these metabolites can dictate how well you respond to the foods that you eat. And if you think about it, you have a finite amount of genes. It's like 20,000 genes. Did you know that your gut microbiome has an additional 3.3 million genes? Imagine if you found that amount of money under your bed. So if you want to get genetically healthy, jumpstart your gut and feed your friends. Your gut microbiome will ferment the fiber in the seed and the skin into healthy metabolic nutrients to help regulate your blood sugar and your weight. There's also essential vitamins like vitamin E and an omega fatty acid called linolenic acid in the seeds. Now, between the skin and the seeds are more nutritious. The seeds hold 64% of the grape's phytonutrients called flavonoids or OPCs, oligomeric proanthocyanidins like resveratrol, which is considered by many to be a longevity molecule. Now, I go for the tiniest seeded grapes with the darkest skin. So the big jumbo seedless grapes have less nutrient density, but they do taste deliciously super sweet. Grape seeds are also antimicrobial. It has antibacterial activity against common pathogens like Staphylococcus epidermis, Staphylococcus aureus, including a few strains of methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, or MRSA. The beauty of grape seeds and their extracts is that the ingredients aren't similar to prescription antibiotics, so that we don't have to worry about drug resistance developing against the few remaining prescription antibiotics that we have left in the world. In addition, they have rich antioxidants that are thought to speed up wound healing and prevent scarring. Research is exploring its regenerative capacity to repair damaged blood vessels, and this translates into possibly better healing and less scars. Now, studies have shown that topical applications of grape seed extract actually can cut the wound healing time in half compared to placebo. Of course, this was only in minor procedures like moles and skin tags. But in our quest for longevity, we're trying to reduce blood vessel plaques, and grape seed extracts seem to be helpful in that quest to reduce atherosclerosis. Now, resveratrol is considered to be a powerful antioxidant. It's neuroprotective and it's cardioprotective. But don't go and buy those supplements because they don't quite work yet. Probably because you need another molecule to help resveratrol out. And we still haven't figured out what that molecule is. But this is also why I go out to go get Concord grapes. Now, they are the most common seeded grapes that I can find. Did you know that grapes are the world's #1 fruit? There's over 10,000 varieties, and I've made it a personal project to try as many as possible. Here are some commonly sold grapes that can curb your sweet tooth. The sweetest grapes are probably champagne grapes, and you'll generally find them in restaurants and gourmet markets. Now, a newer grape that I've seen on the market is a cotton candy variety that was invented in 2011 in this great state of California. Now, unfortunately, I'm not really a fan because it's not purple or red, but it is super sweet. However, if you are a green grape fan, try Muscat grapes. It has a delightful fragrance and it is also pretty sweet. Now, my kids, they actually like the common green Thompson seedless grapes, but I prefer purple grapes. Now, the crimson grape, it's quite common. If there's a purple or red variety, I will pick those 9 times out of 10. Another common red grape is the red globe grape. They are crispier, but I find that they're not that fragrant. Maybe you'll have better luck. Now, a Concord grape is one of my favorites because it's a hybrid of a Thompson seedless grape and a Concord grape. To me, Concord grapes are more fragrant. They also have that dark purple thick skin and they jelly-like flesh. I used to spit the seeds out as well as the skin out. That's because I found them bitter and I didn't realize they were actually the most nutritious part of the grapes. You know, as a kid, it was really hard to find seedless grapes. Unfortunately, our food supply is just getting less nutritious, and now I can't find the seeded variety. But as you can see from this short list, there are plenty to choose from. And if you're afraid to eat grapes because they are sweet, well, grapes are actually considered to be a low glycemic load food. That means they won't spike your blood sugars like eating a candy bar or a piece of white bread. A rise in blood sugars whenever you eat anything with glucose is perfectly normal, even in people without blood sugar issues like professional athletes. However, having a persistently elevated blood sugar, that's actually the real problem. And the solution is to eat more fruit to replace those fatty, sweet treats. Over time, your body will repair itself if you give it the right nutrients to do so. Now, many people think about individual sugars when they talk about food, but the food matrix and the food structure, they're actually very critical in keeping blood sugars normal. Hence, chewing your grapes is always the healthiest version, which is better than drinking grape-flavored beverages, with or without sugar substitutes. And when you eat these grapes, your gut microbiome, they will thank you with healthy metabolic fermentation products like butyrate and acetic acid, which help you lose weight, lower blood sugars, and cholesterol. Now, 1 cup of grapes has a glycemic index of 53. Now, compare that to a cup of table sugar, which has a glycemic index of 65, which is still lower than a slice of bread, which is a glycemic index of 100. This means eating white bread or anything made out of white flour is worse for your blood sugar control than table sugar. Did you know that the glycemic index was invented in the 1980s? Out of necessity? Before the 1980s, the rates of diabetes were actually pretty low. Diabetes wasn't an epidemic until 1994. So what happened? Did the human race mutate? No, because Northern Europeans continue to have some of the lowest rates of diabetes. However, in the USA, we have one of the highest rates of diabetes next to our neighbors in Mexico. And in the 1960s, American food companies began to operate in Mexico. But NAFTA in 1999 flooded Mexican supermarkets with American processed foods. This parallels the rise of type 2 diabetes in Mexico. There is no doubt about it. These foods have been created so that you are addicted. Food scientists, they know exactly how to get you hooked. So they have engineered processed foods for the last 80 years to get you to buy more and eat more. Refined sugars and high fructose corn syrup was purposely created by the food industry with the help of the US government. And we can thank Richard Nixon and the USDA Secretary Earl Buds for maximizing and consolidating farming practices, driving small farms out of business, creating fertilizer pollution in our waterways, and encouraging the production of cheap, calorically dense ingredients in the quest to secure food. So how come antitrust laws don't apply to farming? So this means you and I have to go out of our way to find nutritious foods. And the consequences of not eating nutritious foods is a tax on your health. The good news is it's actually not hard to choose more nutritious versions of the common foods that you like. However, you have to be mindful. For example, if you buy grape or grape juice, just going for the dark purple red colors will upgrade your nutrition quality. If you drink Concord grape juice, over 16 weeks has actually been shown to help people with mild cognitive impairment to improve their memory. And this was demonstrated in PET scan images in people with dementia. And after 6 months, it seems like their dementia slowed on the PET imaging scans. And drinking grape juice also was tested in moms teaching preteens to drive. That actually helped the mom drive better. Too bad they didn't give it to the teenagers. Now, when my kids were little, they struggled with constipation, which is a very common event in children. However, I would just give them some grape juice, and that always did the trick. Now, by the way, contrary to popular belief, you don't get obese and diabetes by just eating sugar or refined carbohydrates. Take a look at this graph. The biggest offenders is eating excessive meats and processed meats. And this is partially because meats have a lot of saturated fats. If you have ever had an underweight child, your pediatrician will tell you to add fat to their diet. I had an underweight child and I tried to do that. I added all different types of fats to his favorite white foods, white rice and white noodles. But he didn't gain excessive weight until he started eating meat. In the 1970s, Americans didn't just eat more refined sugars, they actually started eating more of everything that was packed with fat. Now, number 2 will be a favorite for drinkers, dates. Have you ever tasted a dry date? It's powerfully sweet, yet it has a low glycemic index, and this means it won't raise your blood sugars, unlike eating a piece of white bread. In fact, It's been shown that if you incorporate a few dates in a day, it actually doesn't contribute to weight gain. So if you like your morning coffee with sugar, you can actually replace that sugar by soaking a date in your hot coffee, or you can add date powder to it. Now, my least favorite would be date syrup, which is only slightly better than honey, agave, or maple syrup. If you're trying to get unaddicted to sugar, it's important to avoid refined sugary ingredients and foods as much as possible and stick to whole foods in its original structure for all the reasons that we talked about before. Now, if you are a chewer, then try freezing that date or eating it refrigerated. It actually turns out to be a very chewy texture cold. If you want to upgrade that texture, put a nut in it like a walnut or pecan. You can even try it with a little bit of creamy peanut butter. Personally, I enjoy that whole thing frozen and then dipped into dark chocolate. It's actually delicious and it tastes like a Snickers bar. If you're a softie, substitute your refined sugar with date powder. You can use a 1-to-1 substitution, and you have to cut your other dry ingredients by about 25%. Date powder is so much healthier than table sugar because it is made out of the whole date with the vitamins, the minerals, the fibers, and the phytonutrients. Did you know that dates can help you reduce the duration of labor? I wish I had known that with my first kid. I was in labor for like 18 hours. Now here's an idea for a healthy pancake. Substitute your favorite pancake recipe with a whole grain flour like whole wheat, whole oat, or whole rye, or even blend all three of them together. Now then you add date powder for the sugar and you sprinkle in nuts and seeds. And to make it fluffier, add some sparkling water at the end. By making these simple substitutions and additions, you will begin your body's healing. And when your metabolism is able to repair itself from the internal fat depositions, you will reduce your weight, your fatty liver, and reduce your prolonged blood sugar elevations. Number 3 is another perfect food for chewers. It is one of my favorite crunchy fruits as a topping or to be eaten plain. These are freeze-dried goji berries. They are super crunchy and crispy. They have the crunch of a chip. You can enjoy it powdered and sprinkled on top of really any food or by themselves. Can you believe it? Goji berries has 1 gram of fiber and 4 grams of protein, in addition to exceeding your vitamin A requirements on a daily basis. It's also a great source of potassium, which helps to lower your inflammation. Now, I started eating goji berries because it had nutrients in it to reduce the risk of cataracts. Cataracts are cloudy lenses. Like heart disease, it takes several decades to get cataracts. The lenses in your eye are like your skin. It's flexible throughout your life because you're actively repairing it with new cells. However, unlike your skin that can shed off old cells, the old cells in the lens don't shed, but the body piles them up like trash, and that trash gets piled up in the middle of your lens. So many things can increase the stress. Now, even hyperbaric oxygen can increase your cataracts. Just goes to show you anything in excess, including oxygen, is not so good. Now, when your physician shines a light in your eye, they're looking for cataracts. They're actually looking for a red reflex. And when it's not there, that's a red flag for cataracts. Cataracts is a leading cause of blindness in the world, responsible for 40% of all people blind. Your lens is super important. It's like your own personal magnifying glass. It's supposed to focus light in the back of your eye, which is directly connected to your brain. That part is called the retina. Did you know that over 80% of people over 80 has cataracts? Now, the fact that 20% are spared means that it is possible to be spared. And when you have cataracts, your vision will be blurry, hazy, less colorful, and eventually you're not going to be able to read or see definition. You know how everybody loves protein? Well, proteins can cause that blurriness because the proteins, they build up in the lens and they precipitate out due to oxidative stress. This is another reason why to eat your antioxidants. Because if your body can prevent these proteins from building up, then you may be in that 20%. And just because you're not in the elderly group doesn't mean you're spared from cataracts, as people less than 50 can also get cataracts. Here are some of the most common reasons people get cataracts. Notice how alcohol is on that list. This list has many risk factors that you can reduce, like diabetes, being overweight, being vitamin deficient, And the thing is, it's not just one vitamin. These vitamins are all important because they help your body to reduce oxidative stress together by supporting the glutathione redox system, which is your body's most powerful antioxidant system. Now you can imagine that glutathione is heavily concentrated in your lens. Your lens is literally bathed in a bath of vitamin C liquid called your vitreous humor. And low vitamin C levels increase the likelihood of getting more metabolic complications. Now there are other antioxidants such as lutein and zeaxanthin, which are also required. And guess what? Goji berries have those too. Together, these antioxidants, they reduce toxic compounds like hydrogen peroxide, superoxide, and hydroxyl radicals. These are just made as a byproduct for everyday metabolism. But unfortunately, these chemicals can lead to cataracts. Glutathione is a tripeptide. It's made out of 3 amino acids: glutamate, cysteine, and glycine. Now, glutamate and cysteine have to be bonded together before glycine is added. So if you're missing either glutamate or cysteine, then you can't make glutathione. Unfortunately, there isn't any research to show that taking these amino acids is going to make any difference in your progression to cataracts. The standard of care is still surgery. So I'm hoping to be in the top 20%. So I target foods rich in cysteine, such as garlic, onions, shallots, and capers. I personally also take a supplement called N-acetylcysteine to replenish glutathione. N-acetylcysteine, or NAC, is really the supplement form of cysteine that allows the body faster access to cysteine compared to eating cysteine in food. Now, the skin of your eye is very sensitive and absorbs lots of things really easily. So that's why it's important to protect it. Even tap water can have dangerous chemicals and germs that have made people go blind. But one of the biggest problems is actually UV damage from sunlight. So sunglasses can help to reduce that, and definitely not looking in the sunlight. Now, if you live in a polluted city, air pollution, that can also cause cataracts. So a home HEPA filter, that's actually very helpful. And when you cook, don't forget to open your windows and vent your room, because you're making toxic, poisonous gases as well when you cook. And if you're driving on a freeway, roll up your window, use your ventilation system. Now, Goji berries can help other parts of the eye too, including the macula, which is critical for focusing. In this study, 2 tablespoons eaten for about 90 days, roughly 15 berries a day, increased a pigment called zeaxanthin in the macula and prevented the buildup of soft drusen associated with age-related macular degeneration. And as a bonus, in 45 days, you can drop some abdominal fat, LDL cholesterol, and triglycerides. If you are a drinker, you're going to love Goji berry tea. In fact, it is traditionally used in Asia in soups and herbal teas. So you just add some of these berries to hot water. There's actually several types of carotenoids like lutein and zeaxanthin. Carotenoids are essential for your health. They are necessary for your brain, your immunity, as well as cellular growth. Your brain is full of fat. Therefore, it can get oxidized very easily. Just like your fats and the oils on your countertop. They go rancid quite easily. Have you noticed how your potato chips go rancid quite quickly? Unless they're full of trans fats. Now, trans fats are really bad. Nobody can metabolize them, not you or your germs. So avoid trans fats. Now, we can't go backwards because as a kid, I ate a ton of trans fats in processed foods. It's terrible, but we can go forward and give our body the equipment to help repair. And that is to fill our diets with carotenoids. And people who have higher levels of carotenoids have a lower risk of heart disease, improved triglyceride cholesterol, and men also have improved blood sugars and smaller waist. Beta-carotene is one type of carotenoid that can become vitamin A. 45% Americans, they have an inadequate intake of vitamin A, even after supplementing. Have you heard of measles? Intravenous vitamin A is used to treat measles because vitamin A regulates your immune cells, your T cells. Have you heard of retinoids? That's what they give teenagers to treat acne. It's actually a derivative of vitamin A. Here's the list of side effects. If you are on retinoids, you can't donate blood for a month after you stop the drugs. And this is because it's actually teratogenic. So if a pregnant woman receives your blood, the baby can have serious birth defects. If you are on retinoids, you can't get pregnant within a month of the last day you take the drug. Now, with these lists of serious side effects, wouldn't you rather try some food like barberries for acne? Barberries are eaten by Persians and Asians for thousands of years and coveted for their medicinal value. Here, people think it looks like a pretty ornamental plant, or they treat it like an invasive weed. Barberries, they're actually not sweet. They're quite sour, but they can be paired with sweet foods so that they become more palatable. Number 4 is for chewers, drinkers, and softies that love creamy and sweet treats. That is the Keitt Mango. This is my all-time favorite fruit to add to salad dressings, to use in salsas, to sweeten desserts, or to just eat by itself. Mangoes have over 3 times the antioxidant power of bananas, and despite its juicy sweet taste, they have actually been shown to help improve blood sugars, even powdered mangoes. And this is because mangoes contain a phytonutrient called Mangiferin that can slow the absorption of sugar through the intestinal walls. Number 5 is one of my favorite sweet treats. If you are a chewer, you will love frozen cherries. If you are into anti-inflammatory foods, then cherries are a must-eat daily. That's because they're full of those red anthocyanins. The dark, rich red bean cherries is what I usually go for. And I will tend to stay away from the Rainier variety because they don't have the anthocyanins. Now, 45 cherries or a Ziploc bag full were eaten every day to reduce C-Reactive Protein, which was seen at 2 weeks. Now, during cherry season, I can easily eat a Ziploc bag or 2 by myself. Off season, I buy frozen cherries. Number 6 is for drinkers, chewers, and softies, and that is a ripened peach. Now, there is a couple of tricks to make peaches last longer. Number 1, soak them in white vinegar as soon as you get home. The vinegar will kill the microbes on your peach, and this prevents your peach from rotting. Whenever I buy organic peaches, if I don't eat them the same day, they basically rot in the bag. But I really don't want to buy conventional peaches because they're full of pesticides. And that's why now I rinse my peaches with vinegar. Now, the second trick to help peaches last longer is to keep them on top of a paper towel or a paper box. Moisture increases the microbes' growth. So that's why you want to keep your peaches dry and well ventilated. Now, you could put them in the refrigerator, but that will change the texture of your peach. It makes it rubbery or milly. So I never refrigerate my peaches. However, if you have too many peaches, then cut them up and freeze them. And you can actually then take those frozen peaches and blend it. Oh my goodness, you're gonna have one heck of a delicious sorbet. Number 7 is a fruit for your softies out there, and that is prunes. These guys are famous for helping keep you regular. However, did you know that they are a great substitute for the texture of fat when you bake? It's pretty easy. Just blend some prunes with hot water. When you do that, you're making a prune puree. You may have to adjust your dry ingredients and it may bake a little bit faster. Now, to make a prune puree, combine a cup or about 8 ounces of tightly packed prunes with a 1/4 cup of hot water in a blender or food processor, and you blend it until it's smooth. If you soak it ahead of time, it'll be softer. But if you're gonna bake it, then you really don't need to do that. Prunes have a low glycemic index, even lower than bananas. And what I like about prunes is that it is excellent for your immune system and bone health because it's an excellent source of calcium, boron, and vitamin K. Did you know that women with osteoporosis, they have lower levels of natural antioxidants? And one way to fix that is with dried prunes. They're basically dried plums. These guys are full of antioxidants. Eating a dozen dried prunes a day after 3 months produce a higher enzyme marker for bone formation compared to eating dried apples. And this, we assume, means stronger bones. Now, number 8 is another one for chewers, and that is figs. These are black figs. Did you know that a fig puree can also be a fat replacer in baked goods? This helps to keep the moistness, the softness, and the chewiness in textures. Now that's because you're adding fiber. So figs and prunes, they have both soluble and insoluble fiber. And figs also is a great source of potassium, calcium, and other micronutrients. Plus, it's sweet, so it already comes with its own sugar. So when you add the figs in, be sure to cut back on your refined sugar. And it is a good idea to soak dried figs for a few minutes with hot water before you turn them into paste because they're kind of hard. And of course, the drier they are, the longer you'll need to soak them. And you want to add water to blend until it's smooth. If it's too thick, add a little bit more water. Number 9 is my favorite for chewers, and it's considered by many to be of gourmet value. Have you seen how much it costs to eat a chocolate-covered strawberry? Now, the chocolate won't help you lose weight unless you eat dark chocolate. Dark chocolate contains polyphenols and fibers that, when eaten in moderation, has been shown to help people control their weight. Now, the trick is not to eat a chocolate that has excessive amounts of fats and sugars. And then you don't want to chew your chocolate. You just want to allow it to melt in your mouth so that you can savor the flavor. Strawberries can be enjoyed in so many ways. So if you're a drinker, try adding a strawberry puree to your favorite sparkling water, or maybe even matcha tea. Now, you may find that it's not too sweet. No worries, just add some dates. It's really hard to bake with strawberries. However, if you eat it fresh on your bakery item, that can actually help your metabolism. It'll add hydration to your food as well as fiber. If you can eat whole foods, it'll get you full faster, so you eat less sweet processed foods. So if you're a softie, remember, always try to pick a dessert with fresh strawberries. Now, number 10 is a favorite for drinkers, and that is the watermelon. If you have blood sugar issues, you probably understand that watermelon tastes so sweet that it has a high glycemic index. Now, the glycemic index is a number that dictates how quickly a carbohydrate-containing food raises your blood sugar levels after being eaten. This level is compared to pure glucose, which has a glycemic index of 100, which is basically white bread. But what glycemic index doesn't account for is how long that sugar will last. There is actually so little sugar in a serving of watermelon that the glycemic load is only 5. The glycemic load is a better marker because it takes both the quality of the glycemic index and the quantity of carbohydrates in a typical serving into account. This provides a more accurate picture of how it will affect your blood sugar levels. A glycemic load of 10 or below is actually considered low, 11 to 19 is moderate, and 20 or up is high. If you want to know how to pick the best watermelon to eat, watch the next video.